Hi, and welcome to another episode of Haltech Heroes. Now, over the last couple of months, we've seen the Ford Barra engine get shoehorned or stuffed into a whole bunch of different type of cars, but never into a Nissan R32. Today we're here with Grim from Grim's Performance, and he's going to be showing us over his super special R32 Skyline. But before we have a look through the Skyline, Grim, can you tell us a bit about what you do in your shop here?
Mainly, Scott, we do fabrication work. We do a bit of everything and a bit of general work as well.
Perfect. So stuff like either fitting an intercooler to fitting an engine to doing a full rear end like this SLR 5000 here.
Yeah, we do a bit of everything. Just everything to do with fab, aluminium, steel, titanium, bit of everything.
Grim, when we first arrived, the thing that stood out to me most about this R32 was the number plate, which is hinting to me there's not an old RB20 in there, is there?
Definitely not.
Tell me a bit about it. What is it?
Let's pop the bonnet and have a look.
This is one of the nicest, cleanest and most unusual engine bays I've seen after opening the hood of a Skyline. I don't even know what to say. There's a Barra in an R32 Skyline.
Yeah, it's not something you see every day, but it's something different, and that's what we like doing.
You guys definitely got it in there. It looks almost standard in a way, where it doesn't sit up too high. All the ribs are on the hood still. How did you make the thing fit in there so well?
We spent a lot of time, a bit of a modification on a factory R32 cross member, a little bit of massaging around the tunnel, but all in all, it actually fitted probably better than we were expecting. We wanted to have it sitting and making it look like it should be in there.
Of course. So we all know that this thing is a 4-litre twin-cam 6-cylinder. Yep. It's probably the tallest of the 6 cylinders, and it's probably one of the longest. Would you agree with that?
100%. On an engine stand next to say an RB26, it makes a 26 look like a 4-cylinder. It's actually a lot bigger than people realise.
Of course. It's still iron block, it's alley head. Before we go sort of too far, I guess, tell us a bit about on this side. So what have you got boosting this engine?
So we've got a 6766 Precision Turbo on a 6-boost manifold with twin teal gates. Yeah.
And what sort of power, like what sort of boost pressure are they regulating to?
Running 30 pound all the time. And yeah, it's making 975 horsepower.
975 horsepower. So what have you had to do to the engine to get it to cope with that?
Like all the normal stuff, crank, rods, pistons, a lot of head work. All done by Mixed Motorsport, and yeah.
Awesome. So that boosted air comes up through your front-mounted intercooler. There's a lot of space in between here as well. So you've still sort of kept it all nice and open.
Yeah, we try to make it as user-friendly to work on at the same time. So everything's sort of easy to get to, and yeah.
And then we come up through a plasmarine intake manifold.
Yep.
How did you go fitting this? I can see down here, there's barely a finger's width here.
Again, it fitted better than we thought. There was a little bit of massaging on that side of the strut tower, a little bit of recessing to make it all fit, and all in all, like everything actually fit probably better than we anticipated. I thought there was a lot more cutting and like that sort of stuff going on, but it kind of just worked.
Grim, this thing must have a bit of a mean fuel system in it to support 1,000 horsepower at the wheels. So can you tell us a bit about what you're using to get the fuel in there?
Yeah, so in the boot we start with a Walbro 460 in-tank pump that feeds a custom-made surge tank that we made up. It's then got a Holley Dominator 1800 pump, dash 8 lines, all the way up to the Deca 2400 injectors, and then yeah, it returns back down that another dash 8 line.
Perfect. So it's got more than enough fuel to make the power. And what type of fuel is it on?
E85.
Of course. Mate, we're so lucky in Australia to have it all the time and pretty much at most pumps. It's great. Well, moving back a little bit, like we said, it's got 1,000 horsepower. It obviously needs a clutch and a gearbox that's going to handle it. What's it got behind it?
It's just running a standard T56 out of a BF Falcon. It's got a direct clutch twin plate in it, and then it goes back through a BPM custom-made tail shaft with a Ford front and GDR rear.
It would have been too easy if the factory Ford tail shaft just fit.
Would have been nice. Would have been nice.
All right, well, look, we've covered a bit about out here. Let's have a look inside and see sort of the creature comforts and what you've got in there. And this is a street car, I'm assuming?
Yeah, it is.
Let's go inside and have a look. Anyone that's sat in an R32 Skyline before, the first thing that you always notice, the smell.
Yeah.
Whatever they put in these cars back in the factory, you can jump in an R32 with your eyes shut and think, yep, definitely in a Jap R32.
It still lingers a bit after all these years, but yeah.
Mate, nice and convenient gear stick positioning in here. So you've got the engine mounted, you've got the factory Ford gearbox. How was it just luck that the shifter ended up in this spot?
Yeah, it's we're pretty lucky. It was sort of about an inch or two further back. Still want to make up a bit of a dog leg so it sits that little bit further forward. But yeah, it just worked out perfectly. It's almost as if the motor was kind of meant to be in the car in the end.
It's nice to see that with all this power, you are taking care of business and you have got a bit of safety in here with your bolt-in cage. Do you use that like for any of the events that you're competing in? Do you need a cage like this?
The events that we've done so far, no, but before World Time Attack last year for Flying 500, the night before I actually made the cage because I just wanted to have a little bit of extra safety as we hadn't driven the car before because it actually drove for the first time at Flying 500 last year.
It must give you a bit of peace of mind knowing that there's something there just in case it all goes pear-shaped.
Yeah, it's one of those, you hopefully never have to use it, but it's there just in case you do.
And other than that, in the interior, we're all fairly sort of standard. You've got an IQ3 street dash that I can see.
Yep.
What's sending the information to that? So what ECU?
So I've got the Elite 2500 running into the dash, sending all the information to the computer and running everything. And then we've got a M&W Pro 16 controlling ignition. And yeah, so it's all pretty simple and ties together quite well.
It's nice to see a setup like this that is working really good and is pretty sort of basic. Probably one of the more important things, does the heater work?
It does.
Yeah, this winter we're having is a shocker, so I'm pleased that...
Yep. No aircon, but we've got a heater.
Right. Are there any plans to have aircon on something like this in the future?
No, not really. It's just, again, the heater for cold days. It's kind of good, like defrost your window. Keeping it, again, as a street car. Wanted everything to sort of work, like all windows. The whole car's been rewired, but everything still works factory.
Brilliant. It seems like something that's so usable. How do you go with that much power? It's obviously got a fair set of camshafts in it. How do you go for drivability, like driving in traffic?
Drivability is actually probably better than you'd think. It's a little bit harsh because everything is so tightly mounted with the horizontal mounting system. But yeah, it drives, it's got so much torque down low that it's pretty effortless. The clutch is real nice and light and user-friendly. It's got a good bite to it, but the pedals, a good weight. So it's actually quite easy to drive.
Oh, that's a bit of a compliment to the clutch people, because if you can get something that supports that much power but is still nice to drive in traffic, that is something that's really hard to do.
Yeah, and that's what I was worried about. And the first time I bled it up, I actually thought that it mustn't have bled properly because of how light it was, but it's just been perfect.
Wow. And to go with that, I suppose, our brakes and suspension in this, because of the different weights of the engine, did you need to do much to the suspension in the front?
Yeah, so it's got MCA coilovers, and I spoke to Josh Coot up there beforehand and gave him the weights of the motor and all the sort of what we wanted to do with the car, and he pretty much built the coilovers around that, sent them back, and yeah, again, couldn't be happy with them.
So when you're driving it, can you feel that there is a different weight in the front?
Not really, and that's the funny misconception. The Barra with no auxiliaries and everything on it versus an RB26 with the sump on it is only 5 kilos heavier.
Same, so it's just because physically they look so much bigger, you don't know.
Yeah, the physical size of them makes them look heavy, but they're not as heavy as you think.
Wow, so you've got a car that can compete in motorcarnas, in drag racing, in flying 500 style events, just whatever you want, and it drives well.
Yeah, that was the whole concept. Like, we wanted to make big power, but it still had to be a street car. I don't want it to be a race car. It still needs to be registered, engineered, and take it out for a cruise or go thrash it.
The last thing, and the most important thing, RBs do have that very, very distinctive growl or that distinctive noise. So when there's a Skyline coming, there's an RB coming. Has this thing still got the same sort of growl and the same distinctive note?
Well, why don't we start it up and go for a drive and find out?
Yeah, I was hoping you would say that. All right, we go around the block?
Let's do it.
All right.